151st session of the North Carolina Annual Conference, brought to you by the 2nd District of the AME Church. Our 5-minute countdown to resume starts now. To resume. To resume. To resume. In 1 minute, we shall resume. And now, our program continues.
Praise the Lord, everybody. Might you bow your heads in prayer as we ask the Lord's favor upon this annual conference yet once again. Father God, lead us, guide us, control us, be with us in all that we do, in all that we say. Keep changing our minds because the world is changing. Allow us to contradict ourselves because it is a sign of our growth. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. Thank you for being back with us in this second session of the 151st session of the North Carolina Annual Conference. The first order of business, according to our schedule, is that of receiving the first count of our roll. This is not an absentee count. This is an alert to those who may not have had a chance to register yourselves effectively, to make you aware that these right now are the persons that the secretarial staff, through those in the background, Ms. Benjamin and so many others, have not been able to give an account of. So, Madam Secretary, let's start with the itinerant ministers of the conference, those that you have not been able to give an account of at this moment.
Bishop Davis, the following that we have not been able to give account for, there are 5. Christopher Haywood.
Okay.
Oria Jones Wells.
Oriole Jones. Okay.
All right. Stephanie Mercereau.
Stephanie Mercereau. Okay.
Michael Red.
Okay.
Stephanie Revelle.
The last name is Revel or Revelle?
I say Revelle.
Okay.
It could be Revel.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And let me go back to the ones that we need to point out for the record of the conference. That Reverend Joan Hopkins, whose name appears at number 29, has officially transferred to the Western North Carolina Conference by our signature and her request. The Reverend Arthur Jenkins is to be referred to the Ministerial Efficiency Committee for superannuation. The Reverend Stephanie Mercereau is to be referred to the Ministerial Efficiency Committee for abandoning the work. The Reverend Alberta Pugh is to be referred to the to the Memorial Committee to be referred to memorials. All right, that being the case, this is not marking you absent, but these 5 persons need to be aware of the fact that come tomorrow morning, you will be marked absent if there has not been a change in your status. All right, go to the itinerant deacons.
Itinerant deacons, Leah Burt and Willis Camp. And
Okay.
Walter Patterson.
Okay, and let me refer Reverend Jeffrey Gainey to the Ministerial Efficiency Committee requesting superannuation. Let me refer Reverend Samantha Nixon to, well, she's not to be referred, but your record should reflect she is now requesting supernumeration. Okay, and so let's go now to the superannuates And this is not for punitive reasons. This is for the purpose of respect, to call all the names of the superannuates in the annual conference. And your record to me will reflect those who answered positively or not. But please make sure all their names are called, just out of respect for their seniority amidst us. Go right ahead.
James Baker is present.
No, I'm not asking for presence or
Okay.
absence now. I'm just merely asking you to call the
For the
names
names, okay.
of all the superannuates, and we will indeed celebrate them together. Your record to me will reflect how many of them were present or not, or not.
James Baker, Joseph Batts, Mildred Brown, Robert Barkins, Charles Davis, Mary Fairclough, Hannah Green, Edward Hansley, Mildred LeBeau, Deotha Melvin, Anna Moore, David Morrison Sr., John Nixon, Jesse Peacock Sr., Ernest Reagan, deceased, Johnny Richards, Dorothy Richardson, James Smith, Harold Sidbury, Richard Smith, Tracy Tan, Anthony Watson.
And all of these persons, out of respect to their seniority amidst us and the fact that we recognize that without their sacrifice, we would not have the opportunity to even serve now. Please refer Reverend Edward Ernest Reagan to memorials, if you would. And we thank God for all of our superannuates. The conference has already expressed tangibly our love to you in days before we got to this virtual setting. All right, the supernumeraries, which ones are here? Which ones have you not been able to give an accounting of?
Ivy Batts, George Cottrell, Jesse Harrison.
Okay, and would you please place Reverend Jesse Harrison's name on to the ministerial efficiency, moving for supernumerary status at her request to superannuation. All right, go right ahead. Let's go to the local elders. There are none, right?
None.
Okay,
None, Bishop.
the local deacons then?
Rita Flemister, Emily Ford.
Hold on. Rita Flemingster, Emily,
Yes.
Emily Foy.
Ford.
Okay.
Ephraim Green, Linda Hankins, Ida Jones, Flozine Lee, Georgie Maichin.
Let me go back to Ephraim Green's name. Excuse, sick. We did get a note from her pastor. But go ahead. Start at Ephraim Green again and go on down, please.
Linda Hankins, Ida Jones, Flozine Lee, Georgie Maichin, Deborah Moore,
George McEasham is excused, sick. Go right ahead.
okay, Louise Sanders.
Okay. All right, thank you so very much. Going down to licentiates, please.
Bishop, that should be Martha Jacobs. Martha Jacobs.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for licentiates.
Okay. All right. And we have the names of the transfers in. Let me go back over as I've received text. Reverend Stephanie Revel has transferred to the Western North Carolina Annual Conference, and Reverend Willis Camp has transferred to Western North Carolina Conference.
I have it, Bishop.
Okay. And thank those who reminded us of such. How grateful. All right. Understanding that this is not marking you absent, but if your name was called as one of those persons that she has not been able to verify your presence, I would hope very much that you would make sure that Ms. Benjamin gets notice of your status or placement before the marking of your absence from the conference. Thank you so very much, Madam Secretary. The next order of business is that of the mission circuits and stations report. What's going to happen during this period, and for those who may not have been able to attend the other conferences, where there are no action items, we will respect the persons and let them come to the platform. There is, to express whatever greetings you choose to express, but your editorialized report is in the hands of the delegates to the conference, so they'll need to read that editorial version. But if you choose and you're there when your name is called, you are welcome to come to the platform and add whatever other expressions you choose. Mission circuits and stations, please come now.
Yes, good afternoon, Bishop. On behalf of the Mission Circuit and Stations, we, the members of the North Carolina Conference, wish to make the following report for the 2019-2020 conference year. The name of the church is Praise and Deliverance. The pastor, the Reverend Sabrina Smallwood. There has been a request for the congregation. That request is, due to the COVID-19, the climate of gangs, drugs and violence in the community, and the small congregation, they are concerned for their safety. This has affected their ability to worship and fellowship. Therefore, their desire is to merge with St. Stephen's Amen Church here in Wilmington.
Okay, now this report is quite different from the report that was given to me earlier, and this is quite different from the report that was given to me when the letter was sent. This is completely different from the report that I've received, and so I'm not sure how we get such a leap on the reports without us having conversation.
Bishop, this is what I printed down last night. I have talked with the chairperson, Reverend Davis, and I was put on platform to read this, and this is what I have.
Okay, I'm going to ask to hold this report in abeyance because this is not even what the letter said. This is not even what the letter said. This is not even what the letter said. And certainly it does not take in consideration the other issues involved in this matter. And I have a host of other issues involved in this matter that certainly
no doubt.
This should not have come to the floor of the conference without some understanding of the resolutions, which we thought we had gotten to, the resolutions of how we resolve this issue with the kind of liability that this concern puts on the conference. So you say, who gave you this to read?
This is what I pulled down last night from the site.
Bishop, this is our Reverend Miller Davis. This is the information that I received based on the letter that I was given. And research that we all did. And I submitted this report several weeks ago.
No, this is not what, you and I must have two different letters.
Okay.
You and I must have two different letters. And I know we have talked about this, but I have the letter. And maybe I'll share, you can share with me the letter you received, and I'll share with you the letter I received, and see how they are two different letters, because the letter I received was not this. It was not this. It was not this. And
Okay.
certainly whatever this committee does has to be done in light of a host of other problems that
Yes, sir.
that plague this situation. So I'm just going to ask you to just hold that in abeyance for a second until we can have some understanding of the likeness of the letters and the request and what actually officially happens in light of the request. Okay, go to the next one.
The next church, Bishop, would be that of St. Paul teaching, Pastor Alberta Hudson, which is now deceased. There has not been a request from the congregation, and there is tangible property involved. At this current time, there is no debt. The church is located at 113 Newtown Road, Teaching, North Carolina. We were trying to find the establishment of the church, and that was not available. The pastor, the number of pastors that have served, that was not available. Due to the results of our investigation, we recommend that the efforts to provide pastoral ministry into this church building be discontinued. The building is in very poor condition, and it will require an enormous amount of resources to bring it back to suitable standards. Also, we recommend, because there's very little percentage of Blacks living in the area, it happens to be that those who are members or past members that still desire to be AME may worship at Rockfish AME Church in the nearby vicinity.
Okay, so by this report, this report, the way it's written now, would move this towards the Committee on Abandoned Property ultimately.
Yes,
because you are now recommending for the decommissioning of this church for the various reasons. Am I to understand that correctly?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's vote on, let me hear a motion for the acceptance of your number 2 item of the mission churches and stations.
Bishop, I move that we receive this report, the second part of the report.
So move. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded for the approval of the recommendation of the mission churches and stations report concerning item number 2, and that is that of St. Paul Teaching. And the recommendation is to decommission the church. The reasoning for it is because the church is, 1, in great disrepair.
Yes.
2, there is no congregation there. 3, the population shift does not present itself for a growing ministry of ours in the area, and
Correct.
has not for some time.
Yeah.
Am I to understand that that's basically what we're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. You've heard the motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are you ready for the question? And I will wait 30 seconds while you raise your issues about this part of the report. All right, let me hear the unreadiness, please.
Bishop, there is no unreadiness.
There's no discussion either. uh, uh, yeah, and I understand that it saddens my heart whenever this happens, for it shows a tremendous breakdown somewhere along the way with all of us as we have to decommission churches, forced in the decommissioning, not the relocation thereof. And so I would, I'm saddened by the whole idea of what we must do now. Change is inevitable, but we ought to be changing progressively, not dying out. Let me go on to get you to go to the poll and express yourself. All right. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask the Committee on Mission Churches and Stations to send me a copy of the letter that you received concerning praise and deliverance. And you can send it to the email address at once. And I'm going to hold your report, this part of your report, in abeyance. We'll come back to it. And we will cease all discussions on praise and deliverance, even from other committee reports, until after we have had a chance. We possibly will finish this session early so we can get on the phone together to figure out what happened that was new between the time we talk and the time now. Okay. All right. Thank you for the report. We will wait for the last part of the report before the conference close. Can I get you then to come on, bring to the platform now the abandoned properties report?
So good afternoon, Bishop.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Rich
sir.
Bird.
To the north.
You push your mute button, Reverend Rich Bird.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
The Abandoned Property Committee of North Carolina Conference would like to make the following report for 2019-2020 annual conference. Property number 1, property deed named Root Chapel, AME Church, location 709 Oak Street, Craven County, Newman, North Carolina. It's located in the Southern District. Tax bill, none. Tax due date, none. Whereas the bills mailed 8010 Webster Court, Leland, North Carolina. How long has the property been abandoned? It was abandoned at the North Carolina Conference in 2019. Is this property being used by another entity? No. Is the property income producing at present? No. Is the property current debt? Is there current property? Is there current debt on the property? Yes. If so, what is the total amount and who is the debt holder? The current amount is $31,747.13, and the debt holder is the U.S. Small Business Administration. Is there a lien on the property? Yes. Who is the lien holder? The U.S. Small Business Administration. Is there a cemetery associated with the property? No. Is there any other parcel of land associated with the property? Yes. Is the property in the hands of a realtor? Yes. Name and contact information of the realtor. More marketing and real estate. Name of the realtor, Mr. Arvell Moore. Telephone number 252-903-5080. What is the amount of sale commission? 5% of sale. Bishop and conference, the committee recommends that this property be placed in the hands of the North Carolina Conference trustees.
It is already in the hands of the conference trustees. That's no question about that, as all of it is. Well, it is already there. We have you to make sure that the abandoned property, however, keeps it up front in our minds so that it does not get lost in the process. Tell the conference approximately, if you can't, the treasurer can, approximately how much does it cost every month to keep this property up?
It costs us, Bishop, approximately $685 to keep this property up per month.
No, it costs a little bit more than that now, because you didn't include in there the loan amount.
Okay.
It costs considerably more than that. I'm looking at it. That's how I know that's not the accurate figure.
Okay.
But it costs almost twice that much, or better than twice that much, to keep this property afloat month to month.
All right.
And that's not an indication of your not having the correct figures, because I got the figures from you. I just happen to have them right in front of me and you didn't. But just to make sure that the conference is aware of that, and the conference is paying that bill from month to month. I think what I want to do is deal with these seriatimely. It's already abandoned. This is information. Let me get somebody to well, since it is information and there's no, the property is not newly abandoned, but the abandoned property committee is showing its care for the property. Move on to the next one. I'll do it collectively.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Property number 2. Property deed name St. Mary's AME Church. Location 110 West Smith Street, Chadburn, North Carolina. It's located in the Southern District. Tax bill, none. Tax due date, none. Where is the bill mailed? Not applicable, nowhere. How long has the property been abandoned? It was abandoned in the 2019 annual conference, North Carolina annual conference. Is the property being used by any other entity? No. Is the property income producing at present? No. Is there a current debt on the property? No. Is the current lien on the property? No. Is there a cemetery associated with the property? No. Are there any other parcel of lands associated with the property? No. Is there a realtor? Is the property in the hands of a realtor? No. The recommendation of the Abandoned Property Committee is that this property be placed in the hands of the North Carolina Conference trustees.
So again, you say that this property is not being in use of it?
No, sir, it's not being used.
Is it structurally sound? Is
Yes,
it usable? Sir. Have we tried to rent the property out?
No, Bishop, we have not.
So what is the recommendation? Well, you say your recommendation is just putting it in the hands of the Board of Trustees.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not sure of the consistency of that talk, but okay. So let me just refer this because we all understand that any building, the one thing that we can look forward to, non-use of a building depreciates the building much faster than anything else. And certainly if we're not using the property, is this a current picture of the property now?
Yes, sir, Bishop. The property is in fabulous shape for the age that it is. We've been keeping an eye on the church, and it's just immaculate. I mean, for the age it is, and the neighbors are keeping the grass, the lawn cut, and I was highly impressed when I went inside of this church.
And so you're saying St. Mary's property in Chadburn is in excellent shape, is in usable shape, and nobody's in there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna let the, okay, all right. I'm familiar with Rue, intimately familiar with Rue. I'm gonna ask you to, because this is not one that I'm intimately familiar with, I'm gonna ask for a motion to accept this one separately so that we can get the discussion going on this one with the conference if the conference's understanding is different. Give me a motion to accept the recommendation of the Abandoned Properties Committee concerning St. Mary's so that we can get it on the floor just to discuss the issue.
Bishop.
I'll move it, Bishop. This is
Give me a
Odom.
name, Reverend Odom, and who seconded?
Reverend Richburg, Bishop, I second.
Reverend Richburg seconded. You've heard the motion, we're ready for the question. Now, I asked because I thought I heard something, and I do want us to take the business of the conference seriously. Help me to understand if I know that we can all agree that if the property is in the pristine condition that you say now, it won't be long if we don't get somebody in there or the property is not being used. And you're saying we have not even explored the possibility of renting the property?
No, sir, Bishop.
Yes, we have.
Okay, let me hear whoever that is whose mic is up, because I need to understand. Because if this is true,
Bishop,
yes, ma'am.
Evelyn Dunn, as a conference trustee and the presiding elder of that particular building, it looks good from the outside, but it does have some underlying structure problems. And it was, it has shown interest in renting the building, but that was before COVID. We had 2 people to contact us about using the building, but then COVID came. And so the conversations dropped. But the building does have some structure issues that the last pastor that was there saw. It looks good on the outside. It's beautiful wood grain on the inside, but it does have some issues with the foundation structures.
Are those foundational structure issues an issue of safety or the security of the building ultimately?
No, not safety, but we know it has to be looked at pretty soon.
Okay. So what I think we're trying to say is the longer it stays vacant, and we know what COVID is, all of our houses are vacant now,
Right.
or should be. But after COVID, and we pray over in the future, we still stay on target with trying to rent the facility or right?
Yes.
Is that what is that what it's saying?
Yes, we do have interest. Yes.
All right. Now, is there another unreadiness? That's the kind of information I just wanted to come out. The reason I did it separately. Other unreadiness? Ms. Harris, Reverend Harris? All right, go to the polls and express yourself on this one issue, St. Mary's, and the recommendation of the Board of Trustees, the Committee on Abandoned Properties. Okay, thank you very much. All right, go number 3,
Yes, sir.
Reverend Richburg.
Yes, sir. Property number 3. Property deed name St. Matthew's AME Church. Location 6 Ellison Road, Elrod, North Carolina. It's in the Southern District. Tax bill, none. Tax due, none. Where is the bills mailed? No, nowhere. No bills. How long?
Where is the notification? I'm sorry, and maybe this misworded. The notification for all the mail that goes there to notify any need of the facility. Where is that mail to?
I checked on that, Bishop, and the answer I got from one of the members was that they didn't get any mail. They had a post office box, and it was discontinued.
On the tax roll, and I'm talking out of school now, so somebody who knows better than I can answer this. The property, even though it's not taxed, is still on the county's books. Is that not right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What address is carried on the conference book? What mailing address is carried on the county's book for these properties is what I'm really asking us to find out.
I believe, Bishop, I cannot answer that for sure, but the address that's shown on the report, I don't have the deed in front of me at this time, but this is the address that I have, 6 Ellison Road.
Yeah, and all I'm asking is that, and I hate to interrupt your report because you were on a roll. I'm just asking if the contact information at the county for this property, the mailing address needs to go somewhere where the mail can be received. And obviously it's not going to be received here with no mailing receptacle. And so anything that did happen to this property, we wouldn't know it until after we start reading it in the papers or anything else, according to the way in which it is now set up. And so I'm just asking the Abandoned Properties Committee to go back and see if we can put a contact mailing address on the record of the county. I don't even know whether it's possible or not. I have no idea, but I'm asking you to find out. Okay. All right, go ahead with the report. I apologize.
No, sir, I apologize for cutting you off. Surely we will take care of that matter. We'll let you know as soon as we do, if we have to open up a PO box ourselves. Where was I? How long has the property been abandoned? Since the North Carolina Conference in 2019. Is the property being used by another entity? No. Is the property income producing at present? No. Is there any current debt on the property? No. Is there any current lien on the property? No. Is there a cemetery associated with the property? No. Is there any other parcel of land associated with the property? No. Is there no name of road to no phone number, etc. The recommendation again for this property, Bishop, is to be placed in the hands of the North Carolina Conference trustees.
Okay. I think your recommendation just needs to be, it remains on the abandoned property list because all properties are in the hands of the Board of Trustees. It just remains on the abandoned properties list until the trustees do something with it. Yeah, and it would not be necessary for you to open up a post office box because that doesn't solve anything. What you might want to do is, in as much as the personnel from conference to conference changes, one thing we do know does not change is sending it to the Second Episcopal, to the North Carolina Annual Conference, care of the Second Episcopal District, and then that remains consistent with for all conferences, I guess. All right, let me have your pleasure on. Now, I asked the same question on this property. Two questions. One, you say it went on the abandoned properties list in 2019?
2019, yes, sir. It was decommissioned in.
It was
2000.
decommissioned in 2019.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. And St. Mary's was decommissioned in 2019.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so, all right. All right. Give me a motion to accept the report as information, because all of these properties are on the abandoned properties list already, and it continues to be. And we thank the Abandoned Properties Committee for keeping up with them as it should be. And certainly we thank you for that. Give me a recommendation, please.
Bishop, I move that the motion that the property stays on the abandoned property.
Gerald Richburg, second
No,
motion.
I think the motion is just to accept the Abandoned Properties Committee's report as information is what it should be.
So move.
All right.
I second it. Gerald Richburg.
All right. It's been properly moved and seconded. You've heard the motion. Ready for the question? I'll wait 30 seconds while you register whatever unreadiness you may have.
Bishop, that was just a statement from Reverend Davis that says the property information is available on the county tax website.
The property info.
Davis.
Okay, and so we just asked the Abandoned Property Committee to take note of that and see whether there is an opportunity for us to make sure that the notifications of whatever comes out on these properties is sent where we can get direct information from. And the only reason I say that is this: throughout the district, we have been plagued by late tax bills where we have failed to use the property as a church for a period of time without knowing that it has already gone back on the tax registry, because they don't let you hold on to the property and not use it for religious purposes. And it goes back on the tax registry, and then we end up having to redeem the property because we didn't know that there was a tax bill already generated for the property, because we didn't have the notifications until somebody was kind enough to look in the newspaper and then forward those concerns to our office, or find somebody who has behind the last name of their church, AME, send it to them, and then they have to send it to 2-3 people. And then it finally gets to us to pay the tax bill. By then it costs us more. So we're just trying to eliminate that piece that causes for us to have to wait on information. That's all. Any other unreadiness? All those in favor, let me know by saying, all those in favor, go to the polls now and register your desire. All right, thank you so very much. We do appreciate you. All right, the lay organization, Ms. Watson.
I'm here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Bishop Davis, Supervisor Aurelius Davis, the presiding elders, pastors, and the laity of the North Carolina Conference Lay Organization. The North Carolina Conference Lay Organization takes the work and mission of each church very seriously. A major focus of the North Carolina Conference Lay Organization for 2019 and 2020 was voters registration, the 2020 census, and obtaining absentee ballots for the November election. Dr. Geddes Cohen and the president of the Johnson County NAACP president, and Mr. Courtney Patterson, fourth vice president of the North Carolina NAACP, both active members of the North Carolina Conference Lay Organization, was very instrumental in keeping us aware of valuable information on voting and what was going on. Even during this pandemic, we are asking all the local presidents to stress the importance of voting, taking the 2020 census and obtaining an absentee ballot, especially from the elderly, collecting them and making sure they are returned to the proper locations. Another thing that we did on the recommendations of our presiding elders, Mount Carmel, South Porch, and Harrison Chapel receive $1,000 each from the North Carolina Conference Law Organization in support of their churches. And lastly, in the Pender County school system, we provided 4 schools with school supplies and approximately 130 backpacks for the children. And we are working on trying to obtain Chrome notebooks for the children this coming in school year. That is my report.
All right, thank you, Ms. Watson. And for the benefit of those who may not know it, I hope that I'm not overstepping my authority. We congratulate Ms. Watson for her work towards her doctorate and the subject matter that deals with female clergy in the AME Church. How grateful we are for your leadership of the lay. Come on, women in ministry.
Good afternoon, Bishop and North Carolina Conference. Certainly, we thank God for the opportunity to say a word concerning our women in ministry. We are grateful for another year of success, and we are thankful to all the facets of ministry in the AME for the opportunity to be able to partner with you in reaching our vision and reaching beyond the sanctuary, as we were able to assist with health fairs and purchasing of school supplies this year. We're certainly asking God in the year to come that we will increase our participation and our membership, that we might be a vital asset to the Organization of African Methodism. Thank you so much, Bishop, for the opportunity to serve and for your support.
All right, thank you so very much. There is no report from employee security, but I feel compelled to enjoin all of our clergy, to do something for yourself. Your families. I think that there is no more accountable part of our church than that which comes through employee services and what they do in protecting the resources you send over there. The church gives something, and we're grateful for what the church sends. But certainly, each of us ought to take seriously our future and making sure that we do our part to secure that future. And certainly you ought to make every effort to set something aside for the days that will come. I often spoke to you about, to all of us, and particularly preachers, of the late Reverend Anderson Todd, who would always say that there are 2 things you don't want to catch up with you at the same time. You don't want to see them come your way and be in the room and they are there at the same time. And that's old age and retirement. You want to make sure that you're prepared for them. And so please do for yourself what you ought do. Just saving a piece of money, just to make sure that in days yet to come, you have every reason to rise up and call the church blessed, because the church would have blessed you through your efforts. God bless. There is no chaplain's report, and there's no chaplain's report that was submitted. I want to thank you. Give me a motion to receive those reports into the record as information. The written reports you already have. Give me a motion to receive them as information into the conference records.
Evelyn Dunn, I so move, Bishop.
I second. Odom.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Moved by Reverend Dunn, seconded by Reverend Odom. You've heard the motion. Ready for question? I'll wait 20 seconds.
Bishop, there's no comments or questions.
All right, go to the polling place now, express yourself. All right, thank you so very much. The motion is passed. Lest I forget, you understand, as I tried to explain earlier today, that we have two books out there, one pre-COVID, the other in the midst of the COVID and the virtual realities that we're in right now. We are thankful for the persons who worked on the literary reports. We understand that we start gathering these reports way back in January. Certainly the world has changed since then, but we do not take your effort and your scholarship for granted. And so if we could get a motion to accept the literary reports into the records of the conference, you have copies of them already. And though they won't be read in this conference, we do respect the sacrifice of the committees and their leaders in providing them. Give me a motion to accept the same.
So moved, Bishop.
Elder Dunn, I second.
It's been properly moved and seconded for the acceptance of the literary reports into the conference record as information. You've heard the motion. Ready for the question? 20 seconds.
No questions, Bishop.
Please go now to the platform and the polling station and express yourself. Thank you so very much. You understood that this is virtual. And so in our attempt to be virtual and be effective and not waste any of your time, we wanted very much in the midst of trying to make sure that was done, cutting down on the amount of time that we're sitting because we don't want you to get stiff, making sure that you had enough time for breaks because we wanted you to keep the decorum of the conference going as it should, being active and alert to what's going on. But in addition to that, we had since the 8th of March, when this thing completely closed down, since the 8th of March up until now, we wanted to make sure that we celebrated not only what God had done pre-COVID, but that which he has done during the COVID period. And so we decided on what we believe was a collective effort to thank God for what God is doing with the church collectively. And so we allowed and encouraged and directed the statisticians of every conference to come up with the statistical report, both pre-COVID and COVID, in order to show just what is done, not just with one church, but the whole of the conference. And hopefully, if this report is anything like the other reports that we have seen during this series of annual conferences, it will just surprise you. As the songs say, count your blessings, name them one by one. And it will surprise you just to see how and what the Lord has already done. And so with that being said, and knowing in anticipation, knowing that I've called almost all of you, as I tease and say on the serious level, that those of you who would answer the telephone, not knowing whether I was the bill collector or someone trying to sell you something, if you answered the telephone, you got a call from me. And most of you, if not all of you that I talked to, told me about the abundance of resources that the Lord has just shared in so many different ways. The resource of being able to preach to more people than you've ever preached to in your ministry. The resource of people from all over the country being liberal with your ministry that you may not even know, may not even have known by name. The resources of the savings that has come as a result of not having to do certain things that you usually have to do. The resource of the number of people whom you have had in Bible study, and Bible study numbers having gone up and skyrocketed. The resources of creative ministries, of how you have touched the lives of so many people because the need has been there. And so with that being said, come on, statisticians, blow our minds with what God has already done.
Good afternoon, Bishop Davis and Mother Davis and members of the 151st session of the North Carolina Annual Conference. We thank God for the spirit, for the caring spirit of Bishop and Mother Davis who lead by example. We also thank presiding elders Dunn and Oldham for their leadership, encouragement, and love for the North Carolina Conference. Finally, to our pastors, we thank you, love you, and continue to lift you and the congregations you serve in fervent prayer as we continue to strive to be the church that the Lord would have us to be, the authentic church, building bridges to liberation and social justice in the world. The next slide. In terms of pre-COVID, the North Carolina Conference reported 202 conversions, 170 accessions. The evangelistic goal was 735. Total baptisms, 117. Total membership, 4,861. Total average church attendance, 2,489. Registered voters, 3,722. Total funds raised, $5,816,186.59. The total property valuation, $38,659,373.52. Total insurance premium, $2,213,458. $458.28. And the total insurance coverage is $43,544,463. Next slide, please. These are the 2020 Addendum statistics. Virtual conversions, 33. New virtual members, 67. Conversions, New Pike Creek, 16. St. James Kelly, 5. St. Peter Warsaw, 3. Highland Chapel Harrells, 2. Mans Chapel Whitakers, 2. St. Luke Wilson, 2. New Kelly's Chapel, 1. St. Mark Rocky Mount, 1. White Rock Micro, 1. New virtual members, St. Mark Rocky Mount, 28. New Pike Creek Burgall, 16. St. John Selma, 10. St. James Kelly, 5. Mans Chapel, 2. St. Luke Wilson, 2. Maple Hill Burgall, 1. Bible study increase, 17 reported from the Southern District, 32.33% increase. Northern District, 25, 43.65%. Bible study increase, next slide. St. Mark Rocky Mount, 2,400%. Lebanon Littleton, 150%. St. Stephen Wilmington, 80%. Sand Hill Burgall, 55%. Kendall Chapel Winterbow, 50%. St. Matthew Tabor City, 50%. Max Chapel Red Springs, 50%. St. Philip Wilmington, Mount Island Wilmington, Turner Station, all 50%. Virtual worship services, a total of 98. Prayer calls, 48. Prayer call attendance, the average is 1,376. Wesley Chapel, Smithfield, 448. Mount Calvary, Navassa, 350. St. Stephen, Wilmington, 116. Island Creek, 90. Rockfish Teachie, 25. St. Matthew Weldon, 20. Applied for or received stimulus funds, 6 churches applied. Virtual platforms being used for worship service. Free conference call, 36, Zoom, 23, Facebook Live, 19, YouTube, 2, Instagram, 1. New ministries birth, prayer calls, food pantries, senior care, youth ministry, stay-at-home revival, PPE and other COVID-19 supply giveaways, virtual summer youth camp, encouragement text, school lunch and summer feeding program, virtual choir, and the revitalization of the class leader system. Virtual viewing audience, 4,869 views. St. Stephen, 575. St. Augustine Clayton, 310. St. Mark Rocky Mount, 309. St. James Kelly, 300. Bethel Northwest, 261. New Pike Creek Burgall, 160. Electronic giving apparatus, 32. Cash App, 20. Givelify, 5. Easy Tithe, 3. PayPal, 3. Dropbox, 1. Pandemic giving experience, 77 reported. 45 reported increase, 45 remained the same, and 45 experienced decrease. Bishop, we thank God for the opportunity to share as we prepared this report for the North Carolina Conference. We thought about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ when he asked the question to the disciples, when he told them, when they fed the 5,000, he looked and challenged them and said, "You give them something to eat." And we thank God that he's challenged us to give people something to eat, and God has showed up and showed out. And we say to God be the glory for great things he continues to do in the North Carolina Annual Conference. Respectfully submitted, Janice Harris and Philip Blair, your conference statisticians.
And don't remove the report from the screen yet. Let me just talk about the obvious since it's right there before us. Your report indicates that there was a 45% increase in giving. Is that right?
In Bible study.
Okay, this is the Bible study that I'm looking at now. Pandemic giving experience total 77, increase of 45%. That's Bible study that I'm looking at.
No, that's an increase of 45 churches, Bishop. 45 churches experienced increase in financial giving.
Okay, 45 churches had an increase in financial giving.
Yes, sir.
15 of those 77 had remained the same.
Yes,
and
sir.
Only 17 of those churches out of the 77 experienced a decrease in giving overall. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you measure what percentage of decrease in those reports that you received? What kind of decrease we're talking about?
Bishop, most of them, they reported, just simply said that they had a decrease. Some said slight, but most of them just said that reported a decrease.
Okay, slight decrease. Okay, go to the one that's before that. Okay. And so could you tell from what you had received in these reports, how many of these churches were already into virtual platforms before the pandemic?
There were possibly a handful. There were maybe 10.
10 out of the 77?
Yes, sir.
And so out of this, what we perceive as crisis gave the birth of a new ministry to 67 of the churches.
Yes, sir.
And so did I understand you to say also that every church out of the 77 at some level of some platform, some virtual use took place, whether it be just a mere conference call or webinars or Skype or any of those things, every YouTube or Facebook or Zoom, all of the churches made use of one of those instruments during this COVID period.
Yes, sir.
My God. You also said, and I think that it's worth repeating, the virtual audiences of our churches were unparalleled if compared to their Sunday morning experiences.
Yes,
Talk
sir.
some more about that. Let me hear that. I see what I see on the screen.
Yes,
and
sir.
How does that, I have before me what average attendances are.
Right.
And if average attendances could be compared to those numbers, we reached a whole lot more folk than we would normally reach. Would you not agree?
Yes, sir. Pre-COVID, it was 2,489. During COVID, it's 4,869.
On that average.
Yes, sir.
My goodness. My goodness. And so what if you had to make a recommendation as a statistician just looking at the raw data, would you suggest to all of our churches, even when we go back into the church building, that these platforms not be forgotten?
Yes, Bishop, I highly recommend that we continue with virtual platforms that the Lord has blessed us to use.
And I'm almost through with you. I'm gonna let the other folk grab you in just a second and shake you to get more out of you than you are aware that's in you. But when you look at how many Bible studies were started on here and the attendance of Bible study?
There were many Bible studies that were that grew as a result of COVID. Most churches already had Bible studies in place, but the majority of the churches experienced an increase in Bible study participation since the pandemic.
I in one of the conferences along, and I see these numbers and I'm encouraged by them. In one of the conferences alone, and this is not a small church, this is this is what we would call a large church. Preacher called and said that his average Bible study pre-COVID was about 66. He has a membership of over almost 2,600 people, but his Bible study was 66. During the COVID experience and going virtual, his average Bible study was 3,600 people on Wednesdays from all over the world. And though he was not taking up an offering on the Bible study, people just start giving to the Bible study, to the point that his Bible study started bringing in as much as his in-person offering on Sunday morning had begun to bring in. And I wanted so much to appoint myself to the church when I heard that, but I wasn't sure that I could keep up with his energy level. But is there anything else you want to add to this? Conversions 16. This is virtual. Is that right?
Yes, sir. It's virtual. Actually,
and
there's
what were
one
they
more. Actually, there's one more conversion that then was listed. I charge it to the head. McCormick Chapel had a conversion as well, which brings it.
Now, what was the pre-COVID conversion rate from the first reports?
The pre-COVID conversions were 202.
And on the conversion, on the virtual, what was the total?
The total was 34.
Praise God. Praise God. And so would you not recommend to us to be in study how to do that even more effectively, understanding without having studied how to do that effectively, there were 34 persons added to the ranks of Christendom?
Yes, sir.
All right, conference. I'm going to let you have Reverend Blair and turn him upside down and ask him whatever you want to ask him now. I'm going to pause here because this is the report of the church, not of a church, but the church in the North, in the AME church in the North Carolina Annual Conference. Come on. We commend and congratulate Reverend Yarborough. I think that's Reverend Yarborough, St. Mark, Rocky Mount.
Yes, sir.
He might be one of those persons that we need to have to come and teach us how to make the sales pitch and get people to buy what we're selling. Come on, I welcome whatever questions you want to ask of the statisticians on this, your report to the annual conference. Come out of the kitchen and Reverend Blair is waiting on you. Reverend Harris, are there any concerns in Q&A?
No, Bishop, I have no questions.
My. I would think that this would be something that really excited us. Bible study increase.
I just have one comment from Reverend from Kathy Austin Kearney. She just says no questions, just a celebration.
Indeed, it is something to celebrate. And I'm in awe on some of these statistical things.
Reverend Sloan says, can we, in the future status, can we see age groupings?
All right. Go back up, Reverend Blair, if you would, to registered voters, total membership, and then go to registered voters. Did you have that included? I'm sure you did.
Yes. Total membership is 4,861.
Take us to that. Take us to that.
That's the one that's in the table. Should be the second slide. Total membership is 4,861. Total registered voters is 3,722.
4,000 what?
Total membership is 4,861. Total registered voters is 3,722.
All right. And so do you have the breakdown of preparatory members in that membership? Or are they all lumped together?
I believe they're all lumped together as far as pulling from what were on the pastoral reports that were reported.
Well, on the pastoral's report, if I'm not mistaken, there's a section up there that talks about, okay, there it is, total membership, total attendance, total registered voters, okay, conversions, okay. And so we have to make sure that that part that should be there or was there gets back there. Preparatory members and youth. Youth. All right, I thank you. That excites me. Give me a motion to accept yes.
I have a question from Jonathan Ford. He wanted to know, as far as this session, just needed to clarify that people can actually join as a full member being virtual and never attend the church physically.
Is that a question or a statement of fact?
That's a question that he has.
That a person can join the church without ever stepping in the church?
Right.
Yeah, that's a question that's never been asked of me, but I would think so. I would think so. People choose to join from other parts of the world, and our book says that in order for their names to be registered on the membership roll, is they must either attend or contribute within, I think it's 3 months or something like that, before you could consider taking their names off. I don't misquote the number of days, but I'm certain about the first part of that. Okay. And joining church certainly is not tied into a building. Okay. All right. Give me a motion. Give me a motion to accept a fine report. And I'm sure that when the statisticians get together and pull this together for the whole of the Second Episcopal District, we're going to see some exciting explosions around these numbers. Give me a motion, please.
So moved, Bishop.
It's been moved. I recognize Reverend Odom's voice. And second?
Seconded by Evelyn Dunn.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded for the acceptance of the report. You've heard the motion. Ready for a question? I'll wait 20 seconds. All right, there doesn't appear to be any. Please go to the voting polls and express yourself. All right, thank you so very much. And the motion passed. And thank you, Reverend Blair and the committee of the statisticians for a job well done. Thank you very much. We're ahead of ourselves, and that's a good thing. And because we are, and because I know what I know, I'm going to ask you to let me go on now to the trustees report. The trustees report, which is supposed to be the first report on tomorrow. I'm going to ask you to let me go on to do the trustee report now, and because I know what I know, and because I know what I know. Let me have the trustee report, please.
Ms. Bishop, I don't know if the other members are on the panel yet, but I will.
Where's the secretary?
Okay.
Where's the secretary? Is he here?
Get on. He was trying to get on earlier.
Okay, go ahead. Lead us on. Lead us on.
All right.
Member of the board.
The conference trustees like to make the following report for this conference year. We had 5 requests. Request number 1 is from Union Hill, AME Church in Wilson's Mills. The pastor is the Reverend Jermaine Robinson. The trustee vice chair is Mr. Antoine Monroe. Proposed project was for improvement needed to the church. The request was for a $60,000 loan from the community bank. Pastor Robinson shared the plan of the pledge the church members have in place, with all members being committed to the cause. Chairman Davis gave words of encouragement to the pastor and officer. It was moved to approve the request by Presiding Elder Dunn and seconded by Reverend Robert Good. The motion carried. The request was approved. The request was submitted according to the protocol, and all supporting documents were presented prior to the board's meeting.
Okay, go ahead.
Request number 2, St. Augustine's African Episcopal Church in Clayton, North Carolina. Pastor is the Reverend Edward Sloan. The trustee is Juanita Hinton. A request to sell 2 lots owned by the church was presented to the board. A neighboring church had leased the property for years, and Pastor Sloan explained the relationship with the church leasing the property and that no other bids were sought because of that relationship. The sale price of $45,000 was to be spent for the new HVAC system and other improvements. $6,000 was targeted for a building fund. Presiding Elder Odom made a motion to approve the request. It was seconded by Presiding Elder Dunn and approved by the board. Proper details of the request were submitted to the board prior to the meeting and made a part of the records. Request number 3 came from St. James AME Church in Whiteville. The pastor is the Reverend Dr. Donna Bertram. The trustee, Sherry C. Baldwin. A request to sell church property was presented to the board because of frequent flooding and neighborhood decline. The church wished to accept a $130,000 offer. The congregation has not been worshiping there due to conditions there, but were in a temporary location free of rent payment requirements. They are seeking a new location and intend to use the funds from the sale to purchase another edifice. Arvell Moore made a motion to approve the sale. It was seconded by Reverend Robert Good, and the board unanimously approved the sale to the DOT. Chairman Bishop Davis expressed his desire to help and offered to pay alternative fees to the entire proceeds to go to the property for another location. All required documents and explanation requests were presented to the board prior to the meeting. Request number 4 for the trustees, St. Mark AME Church, Rocky Mount. The pastor, the Reverend Robert Yarber. Trustee, Kevin Harris. A request to sell church property was presented to the board. The property was a single-family home that had been rented out. It is in need of extensive repair that the church could not afford to complete. It was decided by the church and the leadership that the property to be sold to the church could make some needed improvements on the sanctuary. It is also targeted to replenish the building fund. Presiding Elder Odom made the motion to approve the request. It was seconded by Presiding Elder Dunn. The vote was unanimous to approve the request. An appraisal and other pertinent documentation had been submitted and reviewed by the board prior to the meeting. Request number 5 was from St. Paul AME Church, Kinley. The pastor, the Reverend Jonathan Ford. The trustee, Courtney Hamilton. A request was presented before the board to purchase property located behind the church. The request indicated it would serve a useful purpose for the church as an asset and put the church in control of what would locate near them in the future. The purchase required them to obtain a loan from Southern Bank, and Pastor Ford indicated they had been approved for $16,000 of the $20,000 purchase price. Financial documents and Pastor Ford indicated that the down payment and monthly payments of $225 would not be a problem for the church. Chairman Bishop Davis complimented the pastor and his congregation for their stewardship and money management. Alvea Moore made the motion to approve the request. It was seconded by Reverend Robert Good, and all necessary evidentiary documents were presented to the board prior to the meeting and the ultimate approval for the request. That ends the report for the trustees for this conference year.
All right. What is the pleasure of the conference? And this report is a report that you would be making the motion to ratify the actions of the Board of Trustees.
So moved, Bishop Robert L. Good.
All right. It's been moved by Reverend Good. It's seconded by whom?
Reverend Odom.
It's been probably moved and seconded that the Board of Trustee report be adopted and ratified. You've heard the motion. Ready for a question?
Bishop, there's unreadiness about the number 4. It says the picture of St. Mark is incorrect. That is the picture of Galatians AME Church, not St. Mark.
So noted. All right. Is there another unreadiness? All right. All those in favor, please go to the polling stations to ratify the report of the Board of Trustees.
Looking at that church, I didn't recognize it. That's Galatia. Is it?
Okay, turn your mic off, Reverend Odom.
Okay.
You don't want you saying something out loud. All right, thank you so very much. The Board of Trustees report has been ratified and accepted into the conference records. Thank you so very much. I think that brings us to a point where we're able to stop for today for this session, and how grateful I am for your participation and leadership thus far. All the reports have been brought in, and we are so very grateful. Don't forget tonight, beginning at 5:55, when we're asking you to sign back on, that you do so. And our annual opening worship service, where where the Reverend Thomas Nixon is our preacher tonight. Somebody say amen. Let the crowd around you know that we're anticipating a wonderful word from Reverend Nixon, as I'm sure he will be bringing with the Lord's help. Thank you so very much. Walk with God, and God will walk with you. Talk with God, and God will talk with you. Listen to God, and God will listen to you. Love God, because God first loved me. I thank you for being here. Please don't leave without hearing the announcements. Those persons from the committee that Mission Churches and Stations, you have been sent an invitation, certain ones of you, to get on a call right away so that we can get ready for your supplemental report on tomorrow. God bless you real good. Hear the announcements, and we'll see you at 5:55. God bless.
Thank you so much for tuning in. After this break, come back and from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., get spiritually charged up in our opening annual conference worship service. Are you ready to catch on fire? We are the light of the world. When the lights overheat, they explode. Our opening worship experience will ignite us. Explosive singing. A preacher whose message is like fire shut up in his bones, and the expectation that our hearts will burn within us. The Zoom webinar opens at 5:30 p.m., and you definitely want to be in your seat by 5:56 p.m. as Bishop Davis welcomes the annual conference and web attendees.